Today, we are diving into the incredible 400-year story of capitalism. And believe me, it's a story you are a part of every single day, whether you realize it or not. So, let's get into it. So, let me just start with a question for you. Who really owns the world around you? You know, your phone, your clothes, your commute? You might think the answer is really complicated, but it's actually hiding in plain sight.
Just think about your morning. That bus you ride? Well, chances are it's owned by a company like Laidlaw. The bus itself was probably built by General Motors, and it's rolling on tires made by Goodyear.
Okay, what about the books in your bag? There's a really good chance they were published by McGraw-Hill, or maybe Simon & Schuster, which, by the way, is part of Viacom.
And even that burger you might have grabbed for lunch, McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King. So what do all these things have in common? They're all public companies. And that means anyone, and yeah, I mean you, can own a little piece of them. See, capitalism isn't just some theory in a textbook. It is literally the engine running the world all around us.
So how in the world did this all start? Well, to really get a handle on its power, we got to go back, way back to the very beginning, to the birth of one really big idea, the public company.
You know, before the modern corporation came along, investing was unbelievably risky. I mean, if a business you put money into went into debt, creditors could come after your personal savings, your house, literally everything. But then came this game-changing invention called limited liability. It created a kind of legal shield, so investors were only on the hook for the amount they actually invested. That one simple protection made people feel safe enough to invest their savings, and it just unlocked this tidal wave of cash for all sorts of ambitious new projects.
And you know what's wild? This idea has been around for a really long time. It all kicked off way back in 1602, with crowds of Dutch citizens gathering on a bridge in Amsterdam, all eager to buy shares in the United Dutch East India Company. Then, over a century and a half later, that idea finally made its way across the Atlantic. We saw the first public companies in the US pop up, like the Bank of North America, and later the Bank of New York, which, get this, is still trading today.
So here's the crucial point. This new way of doing business wasn't just about finance or spreadsheets. It became the actual engine for building the modern world as we know it.
We have this tendency to romanticize the good old days, right? But man, life was incredibly tough. Almost everything was made by hand, the work was backbreaking, and your diet was pretty much limited to whatever was in season right then and there. Capitalism, by funding innovation, brought us mass production, machines that do the heavy lifting, and refrigerated trucks that deliver fresh food from all over the world any time of year. It completely changed the game. And it's just amazing when you stop and think about how the savings of ordinary people all pulled together literally funded history. Henry Hudson's famous voyage to find a passage to India? Yep, paid for by investors. The purchase of Manhattan Island? Same story. Early American infrastructure, like bridges and roads, you guessed it, built with shareholder money. Even the McCormick Reaper, a machine that totally transformed farming, was made possible by investors. But let's be real, the journey wasn't always smooth sailing. In fact, it was often wild, super risky, and sometimes it was a downright disaster. Okay, take the Mississippi Company back in the 1700s. There was this financial wizard named John Law, and he sold Parisians on this fantastic story about all the gold waiting to be found in Louisiana. People went into a total frenzy, buying up shares based on nothing but pure hype. There were no regulations, no facts. I mean, critics were literally thrown in prison for speaking out. And when that bubble inevitably burst, it wiped out fortunes and crashed the entire French economy. It was a painful, painful lesson that where there's a reward, there's always risk. You know, this system also gave rise to figures like John D. Rockefeller. His Standard Oil Trust just ruthlessly crushed its competitors to create a massive monopoly. And it's a stark reminder that capitalism is also about creative destruction. The very same engine of innovation that builds up empires can also tear them down. Giants of their day, like the carmaker Studebaker, are now pretty much just footnotes in a history book. In this system, success is never, ever guaranteed. But, and this is a big but, for every failure, the system also created a path for some incredible successes, turning these simple ideas from garages in small towns into global powerhouses. Okay, you have to hear this story. It starts with two friends, Ben and Jerry. Seriously, they had absolutely no business experience and very little money. But they did have an idea: open an ice cream shop in an old, rundown gas station in Vermont. And to even learn how to make the ice cream, Jerry spent just $5, $5, on a mail-order course. That was it. That was their very first real investment. And from that $5 course and a renovated gas station, they built Ben & Jerry's into the third largest ice cream company in the entire United States. I mean, come on, that is the magic of this system. A simple idea, a little bit of capital, and a whole lot of hard work can scale into something massive.
And that story has been repeated over and over and over again. Two guys named Steve, just tinkering around in a garage, created Apple. A candy maker named Milton Hershey saw a new machine at the World's Fair and decided to build a chocolate empire. Innovation is the spark for sure, but it's investment that provides the fuel.
All right, this brings us to the final, and I think the most important part. What does this 400-year-old story of risk and innovation and growth, what does it have to do with you?
The legendary investor Peter Lynch really said it best. Investors are the first link in the capitalist chain. See, when people save and invest their money in a company, they provide the capital that starts this whole chain reaction. It funds new ideas, it builds factories, it creates jobs, and it generates prosperity.
And if you look at history, being that first link has been pretty rewarding. As you can see on this chart, over a 50-year period, the stock market returned nearly 12% a year, which far outpaced inflation at around 4.4%. Now, why is that? It's because owning stock means you own a piece of a business. And as that business grows and reinvests its profits to innovate, the value of your piece can grow right along with it, often much faster than the general rise in prices. It's how investing has become one of the most powerful tools for growing wealth, turning everyday savers into owners.
So, if there's one key takeaway, it's this. Your future prosperity isn't just about the size of your paycheck, it's about how much of that paycheck you can save and put to work for you by investing it.
From a bridge in Amsterdam to a garage in California, the story of capitalism has been this dynamic, ongoing journey of ideas and investment. And it's a story that is still being written right now. The only question left is, what part will you play?